which preaches a lot about human rights to the rest of the world and also funds a lot of human rights groups, which in turn give lectures to India.
I am asking
simple answer to your question. Why don't we ask the same question? Who is going to carry out the hanging of Ajmal Kasab, a hangman? There will be an appropriate person based upon a judicial system. The courts will decree.
We have absolutely no faith in the system. We have no faith in the system. So how is this chemical castration? Of course we have. The same.
Why are we going to the courts then?
One minute, Shabana Azmi. No. Okay. Shabana Azmi, you're getting responses here from the panelists. I think Miss Dr. Mubin wants to respond to Shabana Azmi on that question. Yes.
I mean, the kind of system that is not working has been incentive enough for the rapist to go on committing rape again and again. I think capital punishment for such kind of horrendous crime, like Neelamji said, has to be taken. And chemical castration, we are talking about who's going to perform that act.
Yeah.
I mean, we have people, we are having so much, the rise in crime of, the rate of rape is increasing day by day, and the incentive has been lack of punishment, lack of convicting.
No. Why do you feel, why not? Response to Shabana Azmi's question, who is going to carry out chemical castration? And she says, you don't have faith in the system, then who will carry out chemical castration?
No, I mean, if we have, once we decide that it needs to be done, we'll find somebody
who's
going to do it.
So you're saying change the law?
No, I mean, change the law. I mean, you've got a police act which is from 1860.
But you are saying
and
none
in spite
of the
of all
laws
those crocodile tears in the parliament,
so
that act will not change. We hope that the threat of capital punishment and threat of castration will bring down
Shabana
the crime rate.
Shabana Azmi, it's a fairly straightforward issue here. We are debating here. It's not about the faith in the system. The fact is, we must accept that the criminal justice system has failed the citizen of this country. Judicial reforms are being talked about for a long time, but 10 years from now we'll still be sitting and having a discussion on judicial reforms. How many women will be raped in the interim? How many seminars will happen? How many human rights activists will take how many positions on the issue? The time has come for a very straightforward, blunt discussion. Chemical castration is an alternative. If the death penalty is too harsh, as Mr. Jethmalani says, why is castration so harsh? Why should we always look at justice from the point of view of the accused and not that of the victim? Neena Naik is responding to you. Ms. Naik.
I think we have to settle for chemical castration. There's nothing against it. But let's also look at restorative justice. What do we offer the victim? What do we give for her?
Sure, but,
should we not that person be...
But right now, what about the accused? What should the accused face? Ms. Krishnamurthy.
I very strongly feel that chemical castration is the right thing at the moment, because even if we go for death penalty, looking at the human activists in our country, they'll all come on the streets even if you're going to hang them, and there'll be a big debate on that. So I think the best is let's go in for a chemical castration. I think most of us are of the opinion, and as we have the hangman appointed by the courts, they have, so similarly we'll have somebody who'll do the chemical castration.
And other countries,
and why not? I'm glad that we're having a fairly open debate on this subject today, because we've been queasy about things like this for so long. I wanted to get back Mohandas Pai. Ravinathan, I'm coming to you. Mohandas Pai, finally, perhaps for the first time, we're having a straightforward discussion on the national media on alternative penalties. Existing penalties don't work. You started by saying you want the death penalty. What about castration?
Arnab, I believe that minimum punishment for a rapist should be chemical castration. And in case the grievance is much more heinous, they should go up to the death penalty, and there should be no limit on the penalty. But we have to face a larger issue, Arnab. And the larger issue, Arnab, the larger issue is our criminal justice system does not work. And unless we make the criminal justice system work, all these penalties will remain in the book, will not be applied to the accused. And then nothing will work. That's why we have to invest in the justice system. We have to have much more investigative powers for the police, special track courts, fast track courts for the women, and special investigation powers for the police for crimes against women. Unless we do all this, I'm afraid things will continue as bad as ever.
No, so there is therefore we come to 2 points here. One is chemical castration along with fast-track courts. Shabana Azmi says the system must speed itself for the victim to ensure justice to the victim. Why can't we do both? Have a stronger penalty and a speedier criminal justice system delivery.
Special courts to deal with rape cases.
Yeah?
A special court to deal with rape cases.
Special court
and day-to-day hearings.
Day-to-day hearings, special courts to deal with rape cases, and at least chemical castration for rape, all rape accused. And in the case of a more heinous case of the kind that we have seen today, the death penalty.
And Arnab, can I add to that? Arnab, can I add to that?
Yes, Mr. Kaul.
Yes, can I add to that?
Please do.
Yes, and one very important thing, an honest investigation and a strong charge sheet. And that's where the role of the police comes in. because you can have a fast-track court,
Yes,
you can have time-bound trials, but if you ultimately have a shoddy investigation or an investigation which is influenced, and you end up with a weak charge sheet,
Yes.
you'll never get convictions.
And I want to point out that in 1979, Supreme Court Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer had first suggested castration as a punishment for rapists. He said willing castration is a better recipe than outright death. Mr. Jethmalani is smiling, but this is an open debate on this right now. In 2011, a judge in Delhi sentencing a man to 10 years imprisonment for raping his minor stepdaughter said that imposition of castration, both surgical and chemical, as an alternative punishment for the offence of rape and molestation is the crying need of the hour. The problem is our legislatures don't want to look at something like this.
The time has come.
That is the problem. That is the problem. I want to get Mr. Jethmalani. Mr. Jethmalani, you agree?
To wake up
Mr. Jethmalani?
I support the penalty of castration, but you must be convinced in a particular case that this man is incapable of reformation. That's all. That's the condition.
I didn't get the last word.
In a first offence, you may judge it in a second offence. But there must be a finding that deterrent punishment will not do for this man. He must be incapacitated from committing this offence.
Yes, one second, please. I just want to take a quick round here. 1 minute. Ravina Tandon, you know, we have come to at least something substantial at the end of this discussion. We are looking at three alternatives: fast-track courts, chemical castration, and in the case of heinous offences, the death penalty. Right. Do you think this is something reasonable that perhaps you can have a citizens' charter push this now with the political class? Because you've got the political class to talk about it, but they need to deliver more than empty speeches.
I think that is the need of the hour, that it needs to be delivered to the public, because promises we've been hearing, consoling statements we've been hearing for a long time. But like I said, as for someone who's been working towards the girl child, when I work on the field with these low class people, the first thing they say is, बेटी बड़ी होएगी उसको protect कौन करेगा? हमारे पास तो पैसा नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं है, हम इसको protect कैसे करेंगे? That is the first thing that I get to hear when I go or I'm doing any kind of field work. And that is exactly the point that I was making right from the beginning, that if we have enough laws that protect our women, and something like this I think is reasonable. The only thing is it needs to be acted upon, and that is something that we need to see.
With Shabana Azmi, would you agree with this great step-by-step approach here that we've spoken about, along with possibly speeding up the criminal justice system?
Firm investigation, speedy justice, certainty of punishment, and the punishment, the law can change, because at the moment it's 7 years, it should become life imprisonment. That's what I feel. Whereas I accept totally accept the anguish that people who are dealing with this face. Sorry?
I understand, but I'd like to point out there are 6 politicians elected in legislatures in our country from 4 parties who have rape charges in their affidavits. I have copies of their affidavits. So I think I would like to ask the leaders of those parties whether they will support chemical castration, because if these charges against these MLAs are proven in a court, then they too will face chemical castration. We need to be straightforward about it. Enough of protecting, you know, our own here.
No,
we have had an important debate on this subject.
Arnab,
Thank you very much.
And how can we vote for people who have such charges against them? Something is also very wrong with our society.
Sure.
We have to look at ourselves. How can we put those people in power?
But they should not be allowed to contest elections.
But they should not be allowed to contest elections. And therefore, I propose tonight that since all of this country is talking about,
and they should not win.
That will not work.
Why just no?
I'm
just saying that why just rape? I think there are 153 MPs in this parliament who have criminal cases against them, very serious charges against them. I today remember that headline which comes to my mind in Times of India: "No one killed Jessica Lal." This is a country where nobody kills nobody and nothing happens. And I want to tell you that a complete vote bank politics will destroy this country. These politicians are interested only in FDI, nuclear bill or quota bill, and when it comes to serious issues like these, which concern me and you and everybody, whose daughters and children
Yes.
are unsafe. What do they do?
And therefore, I want
What
to
do they
say
do?
that, you know, it's
I'll
so,
show you just one cartoon before.
yeah,
we-
go
before
ahead.
we-
Let's put the,
before we
let's, yeah, why don't we
I've just done this. Just show.
Yeah, please,
just
we just get the camera to comment on that. Yes.
And every time something like this happens, you want candle marches by people at India Gate.
Just raise this. Yeah.
Do you want candle marches by people in India Gate?
Yeah.
You know, you should be you should thank your stars, this country, that people in this country have so far remained very, very non-violent and peaceful.
Yeah.
Are you waiting for the day when these people, when the candle ends, they'll take up the guns?
Therefore, I'll just put out
wake up. Do something about it.
I'm with you. And I want to put out a horrific statistic. For the last 2 hours, we've been broadcasting the special edition of the Newshour. As I go into a break, I want to share one thing with all our viewers. And this is in all sincerity. If you go by the statistics of the National Crime Records Bureau, while we have been broadcasting this for the last 2 hours, 6 women in our country have been raped. And if you go by the average statistics here, 2 of those victims would be children. If this country is queasy and worried about talking about the death penalty and castration, then we are probably inviting disaster. Taking a very short break.